for it to start recording here.
Welcome
to Bon Jovi Discussions. This is our last album discussion. We've been doing these album discussions for the last year or so, and it's finally the last one. We've done solo albums, we've done live albums, we've done compilations, we've done the actual albums that we all love. So this is my last one, and then after this, obviously, we'll go back into the regular discussions where I have my other, Bon Jovi friends where we talk about whatever, special guests, and it'll be fun. But this is our last album discussion. So today I have my buddy Kevin, and we are going to talk about the 2010 greatest hits. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing good. I was just trying to match that. Hold on a sec.
Look at that.
I'm actually in the process. I never owned that album, but I'm also in the process of getting rid of all of my physical media just so I can do more shows on this run and next year's upcoming run that was just announced today. See, that's he goes in the interview. So I've never seen the inside of it. Show me again.
Okay. We'll get into that when we do the photography portion. Okay. So there's two additions to this. So a fan like you, a fan like me, you can't get the, well, I have the standard edition too just because of my collection, but you got to get the ultimate collection, which has 2 discs.
Yeah.
So the first disc has, the hits. The second disc has, so the first disc is the standard edition. So that's on here. Then the bonus disc are songs that were hits, but deeper hits that the fans loved, like In These Arms, Saturday Night, Bed of Roses, Lost Highway, Keep the Faith, and so on. Keep the Faith actually should have been on the first disc, but hey, who cares?
It was on Crossroads technically, so.
Yeah, and then there's 4 new songs on here that 2 are on the standard and 2 are on the ultimate collection. So let's go. We'll go and overview real quick. This was the band's second greatest hits. Technically their 4th compilation album. It was released on October 29th, 2010. It was used to kind of promote the upcoming 2011 tour. The cover is pretty cool. It has the gold heart and dagger. I think this is actually the first time that we saw the gold heart and dagger.
Oh.
Yeah, because prior to that was, obviously always the red, standard. And so this is the first, just like your hat, 2010 and after, they've used the traditional and they've also used the gold, which is pretty cool. So we'll go into the photography into it. I think the photography of this album is pretty cool. They had like albums, pictures like this.
That picture looks very familiar. Oh yeah, because that's the screensaver. That's the screensaver on my work computer.
Yeah, and this one. This was one of my favorite photos from that era.
That's a cool photo, yes.
And then the booklet itself, it kind of had like a lot of vintage photos. Like this is from Crush.
Oh, nice.
This 2010 at one of the stadium shows.
Let me see that picture. That's stadium. MetLife Stadium.
MetLife, and then I believe this is at MetLife too. Some photos from 2010. So here are some other vintage. This is from These Days. MetLife, These Days era with Richie playing guitar. 95. And then there's Tico in 90. A lot of 95 photos in here. Keep the Faith of David Bryan there. Keep the Faith tour. And then this was at the London 02, I believe, when they were on the rooftop.
That's nice.
But yeah, so the photography was pretty cool on this album, and the tour in 2011 when they were promoting this, in 2010 and 2011 they were promoting this, a lot of the shirts and stuff, the posters, and a lot of cool photography. Another thing that we got from this album was the DVD of all the music videos. And I'll tell you what, I remember when they announced this, I was so excited to have another, because the only other music video compilation that they did was Crossroad. And then, like if Crush Tour had the Crush music videos, The Bounce, QVC had The Bounce, and Have a Nice Day had Have a Nice Day and Welcome, and Who Says. But so when they announced this, I was so excited. This is kind of before media kind of was thrown away, but they had more music videos of the greatest hits. what made me mad was that they are advertising rare live performances. So it was like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna do and stuff? And you know what they did? They put on stuff that we already had. Like they did a lot of the 2008 Madison Square Garden videos. They had some of the Crush tour video, like I'll be there for you from the Crush tour. Fans like you and me who would buy this already have all those DVDs. I was hoping that they actually meant something from from previous tours that we've never seen, and so that was my little pet peeve. But I still love it. It has the music videos, and it also has live performances.
Yeah.
From each one, yeah. So yeah, so what's your kind of overview of this album?
Well, this was the first record that I was actually a fan during, because I became a fan, I would say maybe April of 2010, spring of 2010. So we're coming on the 12-year anniversary of me being a fan, and yeah, long time coming. But like these 4 songs were the first new material I had heard from the band. So I had heard What Do You Got, because that was the first single.
Yep.
But I really overplayed the crap out of songs like No Apologies and The More Things Change. And I remember I would used to go to judo practice, and my dad would drive me, and the whole entire time the first 2 songs always The More Things Change and No Apologies. So that's my memory of those 2 songs. And, when I saw them the first night at the Garden, I got both those songs played, and I was so happy. I was like over the moon.
Yeah. So if you had to pick out of the 4 new songs, which one would be your favorite?
No Apologies, easily.
No Apologies. Mine would be More Things Change.
Yes. Great song.
And 2 more things that I want to add is there's also a Target edition, which I should have brought up, but the Target edition, which is pretty cool. It has, if I'm not mistaken, I should have brought it up to do this, but it has a live version of Diamond Ring, Born to Follow from New Meadowlands, and I think it also features This Is Our House, which we'll talk about because it didn't make the actual standard or Ultimate Collection edition. But another thing too, like my experience, I was already a fan for 10 years at that time when this came out, 10 years, and so I was kind of excited. The Circle and the Greatest Hits promo was so good. I remember there was a lot of TV performances. This is VCR days too, so I have them all recorded. Like live on Letterman and just all these different award ceremonies, and they played What Do You Got so many times, which was I never got sick of. But the promo was really fun, and it was kind of a lot of live streaming was kind of coming into the picture.
Spy Theater.
Yep, that show was so freaking good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know people have watched my album discussions before, and we go through each track. Obviously, there's no reason for us to do every single song here because like Living Our Parent Band Name I did on Super and Wet. So what we're going to do is just kind of talk about the 5 new songs from this album. So the first one is What Do You Got? It was written by John Ritchie and Brett James. It was the first single, like you mentioned earlier, on August 27th, 2010. That's when now it's funny because I remember the song premiered on the band's website and on radio. It didn't go onto iTunes until I think in September. So I had, this before iPhone days, I recorded it near the speaker on my phone, and so I could listen to it all day long. But yeah, so this was the first single. It was recorded in California, I think at Bay 7 Studios, if I'm not mistaken. It was actually it was written during the Circle period and didn't make the Circle. And for this as a first single, John actually wanted No Apologies as the first single for this album. And the record company persuaded him to do What Do You Got? And that's how it
I think No Apologies would have been the better single.
You think? I don't know. It was a single, but I don't think it got as much airplay and attention as What Do You Got did. But I do wonder if it was actually the first single, because they did a ton of promo with this album, and What Do You Got was always played. So, Benny, what's kind of like your overview of the song? What do you think of it?
For me, that it was okay, but it's never done much for me. I've always related to a song like No Apologies, but when it comes to What Do You Got specifically, I like the message of the song. I think it's a good song. It's better. It was better than the stuff that was playing on the radio at the time. That was
Mm-hmm.
a song from that year that came out, but at it's true. Like, if you don't have people in your life that you can count on, it doesn't even have to be a romantic partner. It could be just friendship, kind of like what me and you have. What's the point? What's the point of it? So I get it's a more relatable message. That it's something that everybody can relate to and be like, yes, I can get behind that.
Yeah. It's all about the aesthetics of love, like you said, different relationships. And
Oh yeah.
the most important thing that we have in life is love and each other. And like just kind of like the music video, project, the music video is about these two celebrities that are husband and wife, and they're famous for being with each. I don't know what they're famous, but they show that they're in the spotlight and they're happy and they're showing their smiles and stuff. But when they get into like the car together at home, they're not talking to each other. And so you can have all the things that you want in life, but if you don't have anyone to share those experiences with, or what's the point of having all that? It's like the line, a rich man or poor man, a pawn or a king, you can live on the streets, you can rule the whole world, but it don't mean one damn thing. So it doesn't matter what your status is as a person. If you don't have anybody, what's the point?
I it's been a minute since I listened to that song in particular, but it's almost like when you're a younger person, you're just almost like singing the words. You're not understanding the meaning of it. You know that you know it, but you don't get it.
Yeah.
Because you haven't really experienced it. And I don't want to get into my personal life here, but you know the situation a lot more. But like I've kind of understood the point of that song a lot more in recent years, and also the melody of that song is great. Has like that, like, it doesn't need to. It's a ballad, but the riff is still memorable. It's like that pam pam na 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 na. It's great. It's a great melody. And it's a shame it's not being played live anymore. It really is.
It got played, I mean, quite a bit on that,
Oh yeah.
2010, 2011. But two things that really stand out for me with this song is I love the guitar into the dun dun, dun, like you said, and the bridge, if you ain't got love,
thing. What's it called?
the slide.
Slide.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Richie
done the solo. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Back to the music video too. I remember, well, I think it was Sony that was like sponsoring the video and stuff, and it was like Sony everywhere.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think it was some kind of brand company. I believe it was Sony though. But let's go to the next one. No Apologies, and I know this one's your favorite. It was written by John and Richie, and it was the second single in February 24th, 2011. And it didn't get as much spotlight. I don't think it was really on the. I mean, I barely heard it on the radio, but it was the second single, to promote the album. It was kind of used to also promote the tour a little more, because they were kind of getting heavier into the 2011 tour. I think the whole meaning of this is just the kind of like looking at your father, your grandfather, your people before you. You're not necessarily just family, but seeing that generation not want to live what their parents did or what society did prior to. It's kind of like making a change and you're not having any apologies for it, taking a chance and pushing your luck unapologetically, and facing those hard times and pushing through. That's so what's your overview of this song? I know it's your favorite, so.
I've always liked, so from a melody perspective, obviously for me, the lyrics are way more important than the melody. Because the way I listen to music, it's kind of weird. Like I kind of picture as if it's me singing the song, and I try to connect it to my life. And normally, if I can't connect it, I would say about 80 to 85% of the time, I'm not a fan of the song. There are certain bands like Iron Maiden, for example, you can't really relate to because their lyrics are all about history, but the songs are great. So that's like only the exception. But normally, for any other band, that's kind of how I listen to the song. And, I was always a kid that was a bit different than anybody else, than, everybody else. I was a big Bon Jovi fan. And, I guess, as a 14, 15-year-old kid, maybe liking Bon Jovi wasn't the most hip thing in the world. And that was the only thing that I really talked about. And that was the only thing that was on my mind, Bon Jovi and writing music and playing music. And not a lot of people related to that. And it was really hard for me to make friends. And that was one of the songs, I think, for me that really kind of gave me that confidence, in throughout those years, which was, this is who I am. And, even still to this day and age, I do feel like the black sheep sometimes. But that's me at the end of the day. That's me. I'm not going to apologize for it because I've nothing to apologize for. I'm not doing anything bad. I'm not doing anything wrong. And that song is kind of that's like the beauty of that song for me, at least, because I can't tell you how many fights I've gotten into with my parents because, as you know, I'm doing the Bon Jovi tour, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing like 9 or 10 shows, I think, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're wasting money," and just kind of like making like those little snarky remarks. Because let's be honest, I would say it's like they're like, "Damn, I wish I did that when I was a kid." So it's kind of like projecting that and saying that I'm irresponsible for that, right?
Right.
So,
my charger. Sorry, probably my plug. There we go.
So yeah, yep. So that's what that song is for me. It's almost like, hey, no apologies.
Yeah.
So
that's
a great song.
It's a great way to interpret it. And you know what? Just because people at your school, when you were in school, or your parents, or just because they don't get it, that's why social media is so great, because the bond that you and I have, we get each other. Exactly. Thousands and thousands of other fans on Twitter and the fan club and all the other fans that are diehard, we get each other. And that's the beautiful thing about being able to connect with people from all around the world. We get each other. And we all, my friends, my colleagues, even my wife don't get it, but we get each other, so never feel like you're alone in this and being such a big fan, because you're not, because we get each other.
Obviously, but 20, 25, almost 26-year-old Kevin gets that. 14 or 15-year-old Kevin did not get that.
Yeah.
So that's that's the gap. That's the gap, really. So yeah, what was your experience with that song?
I enjoyed it. It wasn't one of my favorites, but every time I hear No Apologies, so I did a ton of VIPs for every show that I did in 2010, 2011, and even 13 in this house was the same thing. Because you'd do a backstage tour, and then you'd go into like this room and have food and stuff like that. And you hang out with other fans, have contests, blah, blah, blah. They would play this song like 20 times.
Really?
2 hours of you being in that room. So I always just think of this song, that all the VIPs that I've done because of that song, or hearing that song. So it takes me back to that. But I enjoy it. I thought the music video was fun. It had a fun live performance. I was surprised it barely got played live. It got played a few times, especially just to record for the music video. My favorite lyric of the song is the second verse. You want to start a personal revolution, but just think about living someone else's life. You can lie about retribution, but there ain't no fire in your lover's eyes, and so on. I love that. And just the way that John delivers that song. And, one last thing I really love about it, two things. is the band's backing vocals with the no apologies, and then and especially like the way they lead it with the boom boom no apologies, then it goes in the chorus. The solo is probably the best solo out of the 4 new songs. I love Richie's solo on it.
I agree. It has that power in it.
Yeah.
And also, when it comes to the verses as well, typically in song structure, you'll always find that the second verse is always better than the first because the first one kind of sets the stage, right?
Yeah.
And you get the chorus, which is basically kind of like the answer to the verse. And then in the second verse, it's kind of almost like raising the stakes. And you can do that through the lyrics. You can do that vocally as well. And that's why the second verse is usually the best. But my favorite lyric is you want to start a personal revolution, what else you're going to do tonight?
I love that line. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. The next one is This Is Love, This Is Life, written by John Ritchie and John Shanks. This was also written during the Circle period, and it didn't make the album. And at that time, it was called This Ain't Love, This Is Life. And then when it was to be brought into the greatest hits, John kind of rewrote it to be what we know it as, This Is Love, This Is Life. I think the whole meaning to this song is, it's pretty much being down to nothing and on your last break. And, like that line, there's what's left of me is no Prince Charming. That life has kind of made you ugly, and you don't have anything else to believe in, and that. But I also think it has some optimism to it that love will pull you through. Facing hard times, as a couple, and those hard times affecting your relationships. And I think that really clarifies that in the second verse. Make sense?
Yeah. For me, this song never really did anything. It's probably my least favorite song on that record. I think it should have been swapped for "This Is Our House." This House is a lot better song. Is a lot better of a song rather, and it works as a filler song, but for me, that song in particular, I get the meaning behind it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember when it was backstage with John Bon Jovi and we had the forums, and I remember when this came out, this was actually one of the least favorite songs out of the whole fandom. Me personally, I like it. When this tour started, I was sad to see that because I didn't do any shows until like I think 10, 12 shows in, and I was like, oh my, they're not playing This Is Love anywhere. And so my first show of the 2011 tour was Pittsburgh. The only time that they've ever played it too was Pittsburgh, and so I was like what a coincidence. That, yeah. And so they performed it in Pittsburgh. Only time it was. I was really good live. I think if more people saw it live, I think they'd appreciate it more. My favorite live. What's that?
Anything that they do is good live.
Exactly. My favorite lyric is these days it seems like there's 3 sides to every story. There's yours, mine, and lately there's the cold hard truth. I really like that, and it's true. We all have our side.
I like that. I like that a lot too.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to the fourth one.
Let's go. Let's do This Is Our House, then end with the More Things Change. I think that's gonna flow a lot better.
We could. Well, I want to kind of keep it with the 4, then this Is Our House. So More Things Change was written by John and Ritchie, and this is my personal favorite out of the 4 or 5. It was really fun to see live. Especially when John added the whole bit that, I'm not Justin Bieber, Justin Timberlake. And before there was Lady Gaga, there was Madonna. And then they'd be like, the only band that you need to see is standing right here. And then they'd go into the final. I love that. The crowd really enjoyed that song live. And it's a shame that they did it a few times on 2013, but after that, they stopped. Do you see it? Yeah.
100% true. that was my favorite song to watch live on that tour. Simply because it's 100% true. Yeah, Bon Jovi they had their ups and downs, right? But still on their downs, they've still been very successful.
Yeah.
Especially when you compare it to the current metrics. They're one of the last few rock bands that are standing, if you really think about it. So, you have all these bands, artists retiring right now, and what they're leaving behind, is a legacy of not so stellar artists. That's specifically in the rock world, right? Like, so for example, these guys, Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, U2, all of these great rock bands, right? Eventually, within 10 years, hopefully longer for Bon Jovi, obviously, but a lot of these rock bands aren't going to be around anymore.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, the whole meaning with this is that. Sorry. I think it's like a continuation.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You gotta edit this.
I'll go into what I was going to say. Kind of like a continuation of what everything comes in full circle. It comes and goes, but it comes back. So, like, I use the term boy bands. Back in the 70s, you had Cole and the Gang or whatever. 80s, you had New Kids on the Block. 90s, you had Backstreet and NSYNC. 2000s, you had One Direction, and then now you have those. What are those Asian guys?
BTS.
So and then like the live thing that he did. Before there was Lady Gaga, there was Madonna. So like kind of like replicating what was before and stuff like that. And I also think he kind of gives a nod to things today kind of suck. I also think that the song is also about kind of like a little anger towards the music industry too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know at the time he was talking a lot about Steve Jobs and how he ruined the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's inspired by that, which I don't think he did. I think I love the fact that any music, any song I want basically is accessible on my phone right here.
Yeah,
I love that. That is amazing. Back in the day, you'd have to go into the record store and spend money on that physical media. You'd have to pop it into your CD slot in your computer, and that's it.
Yeah, wait for it to load, and then you had to go to the track, and
yeah,
I grew up with it, so I enjoy, but like you said, I like having everything at the tip. Before the whole meet, I had tons of CDs from like Def Leppard, Poison, Crew. The only physical CDs that I have now are all of Bon Jovi's, special editions and all blah blah blah, and then Taylor Swift. That's it. That's all I have. Because it doesn't take up space. Because you have all your songs at the tip of your finger. And
obviously, quality's better on a CD, but it's either quality or convenience.
Exactly, and even in cars, like my new Jeep that I got a year ago, doesn't have a CD. Any new vehicle that you get right now does not have a CD player. You Bluetooth it. So yeah, and I really love how John delivers the verses. Is it just me or does anybody have? My favorite lyric too is that the market keeps on crashing. The market keeps on
crashing. Instead of records, it's MP3s.
MP3s, yeah, exactly. The band's background vocals too. The more things change, in the intro and then in the bridge was pretty cool. And then Richie's guitar. I don't know but Richie had some incredible guitar solos in all these new songs. So. Do you have a favorite lyric or anything else for this song?
Here, the bridge. Here comes the na 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 na. These great say the shout. Here come the rappers, the dancers, the remix drum machine. This one is for the CEOs and record companies. But if you're waiting on a happy ending, we're gonna hit the hook one more time. It's great. Like literally talks about it makes fun of the structure of a song, a typical pop song, and it's kind of like a big. Can I curse or no?
Yeah, don't curse.
It's kind of like a big fu.
Yeah.
To it's like a big, to the whole music industry, and I like that.
And I think the whole music industry has gotten a lot worse too since 12 years ago. So like that stupid WAP song by who's that, Nicki or Cardi B or some rapper.
Oh my God.
If John was to write this song today, I wonder how much different this song would be, because I know it would probably target, because that's what songs are out now. It has no substance, no meaning. It's so stupid.
It's just vulgarity for the sake of being vulgar.
Yeah, it's catchy to people, and I think that WAP song was like the biggest selling single of last year. How stupid! I won't get into the whole thing, but how stupid! We like songs with meaning behind it, good substance, and it's mature.
Queen, let me tell you how I got this ring. I mean, this one time, I was talking to this really pretty girl, and she's like driving through the Italian countryside. She's with her friends, right? And they're all singing that song. I'm just like, what a freaking loser.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one, which I know you really want to talk about. This is Our House. It was written by John Ritchie and Desmond Child. This was going to go on the greatest hits, but then John took it off, and it actually got, the only reason it got airplay and it became a fan favorite was they were using it for the Super Bowl season. It was like a big sports anthem, and it became a hit with the fans. And I remember I even was tweeting and comments on the band's Facebook page like, hey, this song is incredible. And so they eventually did a new version of the greatest hits and included This Is Our House. And they also used it as a single to promote the tour, the 2011 tour. So I remember
that, yeah.
They barely played it live except to make the video for it. But I remember before every show, they played this song on the sound system. And then so you knew it was almost time for the show. Yeah, so I'll let you talk a little bit about it before I kind of go further.
Yeah. So also, I forgot to mention that song is played before every Rutgers game now.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like, because it's because their logo is This Is R, just like the Rutgers R, and then house. So This Is Our House, and then it's played.
Oh, nice! I didn't know that. That's cool. Wow. Yeah, it's. I wish they would have done this live a lot more because it really had. I think it also interprets the band like this is kind of like This House Is Not For Sale, which was released later on, but this is us.
Never made that connection.
Yeah, but it's pretty much saying this is us. And, like our house is the stadium, the arena, or wherever they are, and the band. And for sports, obviously, it was this is our team. These are our fans, and this is our game, and stuff like that. So, yeah. And my favorite lyric is, "Are we gonna raise a roof? Oh yeah. Are we gonna touch the sky? Hell yeah." It's a fun song. The only thing that drives me a little nuts, and it doesn't drive me nuts. I wish I could, how he kind of holds some of the notes with the we, he just keeps going on, That's the only thing that I would change about the song. Otherwise, I think
it's just he's extending the note.
Yeah.
Just to add emphasis to it. I like the chorus. I like the chorus more than the verses, definitely.
Yeah, me too. But it has just that whole rock and roll in your face punch to it.
And it had horns on it too, in the background as well. That bam 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 bam.
Yeah, it was just such a good song. So,
yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say about it?
Nothing else.
Perfect. Well, buddy, that wraps up. Don't hang up. Also, we'll chat after this. But thanks for coming on and being the last guest to talk about the last album to review. And like I said, now I'm going to start getting into regular discussions, and maybe I'll have you on to talk maybe about the April tour, or whatever. So
Yeah,
but,
I'd love to, because I'm traveling the tour for the majority of the tour. And like I'll be doing like the play-by-plays, because I remember on tour it's like that's like the worst part. It's like not knowing what's being played.
mm-hmm.
So I'll be doing play-by-plays for each show that I'm at. I'm
Yeah.
doing 9 or 10 of them out of the 15.
Yeah, and I know we're hanging out in Milwaukee and Nashville. So, but all right, buddy. Thanks again for coming on. It was
Thanks,
good
guys,
chat.
for watching.
All right, buddy.
Also, make sure